Hey guys, Indie Prepper here. This time on an optional addition to your bug-in or bug-out kit. Not necessary, but a nice addition. The Percolator. The coffee percolator has been around for many years. A very basic, simple, effective way of brewing coffee. We don't all like coffee. If you don't, well, ignore the video. Just turn it off now. But the Percolator is a simple, easy way of making your coffee without filters, drip filters, electricity, all that stuff. So this has been around for many years. Don't have any idea when the first percolators came out, but they do the job. I'm going to do a review here after a while of how to make the most basic, easy coffees out there without any kind of hardware other than just something to boil in, like Turkish coffees. But Percolator does the job. Now, it's not the best coffee in the world, okay? It's just not as good as my Keurig or my espresso machine or other type stuff. This ain't Starbucks, boys and girls. Starbucks is great. Love Starbucks. Could you brew Starbucks in this? You could, but it's not going to be as satisfying. The Percolator is for basic coffee, okay? Very cheap, very easy to have around. Store this around. I have not used this one hardly at all, but everybody in my family's got a Percolator. Now, everybody in my family hates percolator coffee compared to the modern methods they prepare them with, but they still have them. Just because here in upstate South Carolina, we tend to have a lot of ice storms during the winter, that sort of thing. We all love our coffee, and we want our coffee. Well, percolator's going to get the job done when the power's out, that sort of thing. You can do this on a gas stove. You can do this on your little Coleman stove, your butane small stove that I've got a review on back in the day. You can even make coffee on your grill, your fireplace. Again, this is probably best on a fireplace. This is probably what this was meant for, in my opinion. My grandfather used to make an entire breakfast on the wood-burning stove on the front porch, the old Fisher stove. He had a little baker oven on the back side, iron skillet, skillets, multiple. Did the job, did great. He made an entire breakfast with pots and pans and stuff on the old wood-burning stove. I always had an old percolator. I didn't drink coffee back in those days because I was like 7 or 8. They wouldn't let me drink coffee. But as time went by, it's okay. Any port in a storm. So, obviously you're going to need coffee. Ground up coffee. And it's going to get the job done. I'd say something lower end, basic prepping, storage type stuff, not Starbucks or Seattle's Best or whatever your favorite happens to be, but this is going to get the job done. Now, there's plenty of percolators in various styles. You've got stainless steel and all that other type stuff. This is your classic blue enamel, your classic blue cookware for camping and all that, which is why I got this. This was from Ozark Trail at Walmart for about, I believe, $13 to $14, give or take. Can't remember exactly, but this thing is pretty much indestructible. This will last you a lifetime for $13 to $14. Nice blue enamel overall, across the board there. Let's review this thing. Obviously, pretty big here. Tends to make about 8 cups of coffee, which I think is a gracious plenty. You can always make more if you need to. I, of course, added your little blue enamel cup because, well, I don't know. These things just go together, okay? If you're going to drink out of this, make the thing match. This blue enamel cup cookware is just about indestructible for camping and use purposes. Great stuff, blue enamel. Classy, I've got all sorts of canning jars, all sorts of other, not canning jars, but, canning containers, all that sort of stuff out of this blue enamel. This stuff will last forever if properly cared for. Alright, got our lid, which is obviously a lid. Let's take our insides out. Talk about that for a second. Got this little stand here. Basic cheap aluminum. Most of them are aluminum. You may find better stuff out there. Just don't abuse this thing, okay? Don't roughhouse it. Don't try to break it in half or anything like that. It's going to last forever, okay? I recently inherited a percolator from my grandparents that is probably 60 years old. Still works just as well as the day it was made. Take the top off here. Top's got all sorts of little holes in it for the water to percolate through, but to keep the coffee grounds out. Here you have the cup here, the container for your coffee grounds. Now, I'm not going to tell you how many coffee grounds to add to this thing because it depends on how you like your coffee. I like mine strong. I tend to pack this thing, fairly high and deep, just because I like strong coffee. I'm drinking coffee, I'm drinking coffee. I don't want anything light. I don't want any sugar, I don't want any cream. I'm drinking coffee. It's a caffeine delivery system, okay, as far as I'm concerned. You may disagree. And you have your little stalk stand here to hold things in the pot. So basically you fill this thing up. Obviously once it gets dirty you wash it out fairly easily. You don't need a filter at all. This thing's good to go. Fill it with as much coffee as you prefer. You know, you're going to have to experiment with that to see how much you want or need, but whatever, you'll figure that out. Once it's filled up, you cover it up, push it down, good to go. Fill this thing with water, not all the way up, maybe 6 to 8 cups if you want a whole pot. You could do less if you wanted to, but the best way to make coffee out of percolator is to fill this bad boy up. Put about 8 cups of water in this thing. You're good to go. So 8 cups on the inside. Take your coffee in your little stand here. Drop it in. Does not fit around the edges, anything like that. Put the top on. Put on your fire. Good to go. Wait for a while. You know, as long as you feel is necessary. Just depends on how dark or how strong you want your coffee. What's going to happen in the inside of this thing, the water is going to boil upwards and come up into this, add the heat to the coffee grounds, and going to fall down and make coffee. So when this thing is done, you know, once it's used up, and you can use this multiple times, by the way. If you don't necessarily have to throw your coffee out after the first use in the morning. If you're going to be drinking coffee throughout the day, or possibly reusing this thing, you can reuse this. You can use this for a long time. You're just going to get weaker and weaker coffee as you go. So it just depends on how stingy and how conservative you are. If I was in a major bug out situation, I may use this thing all day. I'd rather have my troops out there, my backup crew, with a sufficient amount of coffee, even if we throw out most of it. So anyway, personal opinion. But at the end of the day, I'd throw this thing out. You know, dump out the coffee, rinse it out. On the bottom side here, throwing some water on. Start over the next day. So, anyway, there's your percolator. It's going to fit on top of most of your basic stoves, that sort of thing. Again, I would recommend the classic matching style cups, but you don't have to. You can use your standard coffee cup and all that. Does a good job. Even if some of the particulate of the coffee grounds end up in the coffee can, down here in the bottom, you've got some holes here in the spout on the side of this thing that's going to filter out a little bit more, so you're good to go. Pour things out. Now, there's got a little attachment here that you can attach this to the handle or the can with some string, cord, something like that. They've got some more modern options that clamp on a little tighter, easier. I've had this for quite a few years, but percolator is a must, okay? You don't want to be carrying around coffee filters for coffee making. You're not going to sit there with boiling water and drip it ever so slowly through the filters through some type of drop situation. You're probably not going to do that. Again, I love my Keurig, I love my standard drip coffees and my espresso machines. Use those all the time, but in a pinch, power's out, percolator. Percolator all the way. And personally, I would probably not carry this out in the bush for a bug out situation, but if I was taking a whole vehicle out there, yeah, I may. Actually, I probably would, with enough cans of coffee to get the job done. Does the job. Again, you can also make Turkish coffee out of this. I'll be talking about that probably soon. At least the recipe I learned back in the day. Anyway, percolator for 13, 14 bucks with a cup for, I think that was $3, $4 at the most. You know, get as many as you need. That blue enamelware, great stuff. MD Prepper, out.